that the disease is still with us, and therefore we must strictly observe the measures as outlined by the Ministry of Health, failure of which such facilities will be closed. Today, we're also reminding Kenyans that this war is not a sprint. This is actually a marathon, and therefore we must be psychologically prepared for it. And just to emphasize on this point, as we've seen in different countries across the world, defeating coronavirus is not a sprint. This is not an issue that we will be able to dispense with in the short term. And therefore, we must always be ready and prepared to enforce our containment measures and to learn to live in a new normal. We have also noted that our hospitals are recording abnormally low visitations by the sick. In ordinary circumstances, we would be delighted about this, but these are not ordinary times. And it's important to note that we know we have sick people amongst us, and we therefore urge these people to continue seeking medical assistance at our health facilities. In the coming week, we will be able to tabulate for you service delivery data that looks at hospital visits in our country, and we want to encourage Kenyans to remember, if you're unwell, you're still expected and required and encouraged to seek healthcare services from the health facility. Fellow Kenyans, our targeted testing approach is showing that this disease is now firmly within our communities. The numbers we have recorded in the initial day of the exercise confirms this. It's therefore important that in order to break the cycle of transmission within our communities, we must strictly observe the containment measures, and in particular, social distancing that we've persistently advocated for. And if we do not adhere to these measures, the disease is bound to spread quickly amongst our communities. As we informed you yesterday, we have gone to the community and have started a targeted testing approach. And yesterday, our teams were in Kawangware. And from that activity, we confirmed 7 new cases. And it's important to emphasize this. These are 7 new cases who are in the community, people who volunteered themselves to come and get tested. And so you can see this disease is actually within us, and therefore we need to ensure we adhere to our containment measures. Fellow Kenyans, in the last 24 hours, we managed to test 1,195 samples, and out of these, 24 people, 24, and I repeat, 24 people tested positive for coronavirus. And this is the highest number of positive cases that we have recorded since we reported our first case. Out of these cases, 7 are already, as indicated, from Kawangware, and therefore this brings to total 20 cases just in Kawangware. 10 cases are from Isili, bringing the total number in this area to 21. 5 are from Mombasa, and this therefore brings the total number of Mombasa cases to 129. And the last 2 cases are from Kuria West in Migori County. And these 2 had a recent history of travel from Tanzania. The 5 cases in Mombasa are from Mikindani 2, Mwembe Tayari 2, and Shimanzi 1. And therefore, this now brings the total number of positive cases in the country to 435. The age brackets of the new cases are between 1 to 19 years of age. We have 4 cases. Between 20 to 39 years, we have 14. Between 40 to 60, we have 6. And in terms of gender, 10 are male and 14 are female. And we are saddened, greatly saddened to inform you today that we've lost 1 more patient from Mombasa. And this was a 51-year-old woman who had been admitted on the 27th of April, and she had an underlying condition. And let me take this chance to convey our heartfelt condolences to her family and her community. Therefore, our total number of fatalities now stands at 22. On a more positive note, we are delighted to inform you that we now have discharged 2 more patients, and therefore our total number of recoveries is 152. There have been concerns raised as pertaining to the situation in our quarantine facilities, and the ministry has taken note and is working to ensure that there's a comfortable stay for those who are in the quarantine facilities. And in light of the anticipated surge of numbers, and it's important we emphasize, today is the day we've recorded 24 positive cases, and we shall continue recording more positive cases. And therefore, in anticipation of this surge of numbers, we must therefore now begin a serious conversation around the issue of the quarantine system. And to this end, the Ministry of Health is reviewing home-based care, quarantine mechanisms, and we shall soon be able to issue specific guidelines as to how this shall be undertaken. And it's important to note again, the success of home-based care is highly pegged on our discipline as Kenyans and as our cooperation in terms of ensuring that we actually adhere to these guidelines. I would like to take an opportunity to thank all the individuals and corporates who continue to support this war against coronavirus, and we continue to appeal to other well-wishers to come forward and to provide support. And as I conclude again, I'd like to thank Kenyans for the cooperation, because this cooperation has made it possible for us to register some elements and some degrees of achievement, but also to reiterate that we must continue to observe these containment measures. Having recorded 24 cases is actually quite severe, fellow Kenyans, and it's really important that we continue to meet and adhere to our containment measures. And at this juncture, I'd like to invite the Director General. It has come to our attention that more information is required with regards to the care and management of our cases, and so the DG shall give a highlight on how we are taking care of our patients, what treatment measures we are putting in place, what new therapies the country is considering, and he shall also articulate on some of our resources. Karibu, DG.
Thank you, Madam CS. Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to give you a few highlights regarding the status of the patients we are taking care of as at now. As of today, we have 214 patients spread across various hospitals, of course, from the coast to the western part of the country. Out of these 214, it's only one patient who is in critical care under ventilatory support at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital. The remaining 213 patients are in stable condition, and we are hopeful that they'll continue to do well, and therefore going forward we'll have more discharges coming from our healthcare facilities. I'm sure you must have heard of the news from the United States regarding the new drug, remdesivir, for treatment of severe coronavirus disease. This is a medicine that was initially tried for Ebola virus treatment and was also used for treatment of other coronaviruses like the Middle East respiratory syndrome and the SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, whose outbreak was reported in 2003 in Hong Kong. This medicine, a trial was done in the United States involving 1,063 cases, and this was a good trial because the caseload was good, more than 1,000 people, and the primary endpoint was the recovery in terms of either stoppage of use of supplemental oxygen for critically ill patients or the time for discharge. And during this study, 31% of the 1,063 people were able to go home within 11 days, compared to the other arm who received a normal treatment. Based on this, the Federal Drug Administration Authority in US has decided to register this medicine for treatment of coronavirus disease 19. However, this is not to point out that now we have a cure, because if you look at the time frame, it's only 15 days for those who receive normal treatment versus 11 days for those who receive remdesivir. Therefore, this is not a silver bullet, though it has been approved, but the other shortcoming of this medication is that it can only be given as an infusion through an injection, so there's no oral formulation, and is also relatively expensive. For our cases, because most of our cases are mild asymptomatic cases, it could be deployed, but to a small fraction of our patients. Of course, we still continue to pursue the use of other medications, including favipiravir, also called Avigan from Japan, the antiretroviral medicines that have been tried, that is lopinavir, ritonavir, or Kaletra, as commonly known, the use of chloroquine, hydrochloroquine, which again has also been prioritized by the US government. And of course, is now available locally in case we need to deploy it for our patients. So that is in terms of the treatment landscape, how it looks like. Still no cure, despite this encouraging news. For testing, you have heard of this case of Senegal where they used the rapid test kits. And the rapid test kits from Senegal are based on antibodies. Antibodies are basically proteins that our bodies produce in response to an insult or an antigen or a foreign body. And the first antibody that your body produces if you get exposed to a virus, say measles or COVID-19, is called IgM. The second antibody, which is produced much later after usually 2 weeks or before, is called IgG. So the one of Senegal is based on IgM. But the pitfalls of these rapid test kits is because, one, you tend to produce the antibodies after about 2 weeks. Therefore, you lose significant opportunity of 14 days where you could be able to trace, isolate, and quarantine people, and therefore stop further transmission of the infection. So that is one big limitation of the rapid test kits. Number two, the rapid test kits are not selective. There are very many groups of, very many types of coronaviruses. So even if you have the coronavirus that causes a mild cold, the rapid kit could interpret it as COVID-19. That is what we call in science a false positive. And therefore, you will be diagnosed as coronavirus disease 19 positive, yet you have the simple corona that causes a cold. Number three is that if you are immunosuppressed, like if you have HIV infection, or you are malnourished, or you have a serious infection like TB, your immune response is subdued, and therefore you tend to produce less antibodies or no antibodies at all. In that case, if you put you through that test, it will come out negative, yet you could be positive for COVID-19. And finally, regarding the rapid test kits, is because even if you have the antibodies, evidence has not shown that those antibodies will protect you from reinfection. However, these are good diagnostic equipment that can be used for research purposes, like in KEMRI, and also for carrying out what we call seroprevalence surveys, or you want to find out the spread or the incidence of a disease in a community, or the prevalence of a disease in a big community. I also wanted to emphasize a bit on the cases from Kawangware, as Madam CS has alluded to. There are 20 cases from Kawangware. 12 of these cases can be traced back to one single individual. And this single individual used to work with us at the Emergency Operations Center. This single individual passed the infection over to 6 primary contacts. Out of these primary contacts, there are 5 secondary contacts. So if you draw that tree, there are 12 people linked to this particular case. If you look at the case of Kilifi, the index case had 5 primary contacts, 1 secondary contact, and 1 tertiary contact. And of course, we continue to do surveillance because the 14 days mandatory period for incubation has already passed. So you cannot be able to tell how many people one person can be able to pass the infection to. And why am I saying this? Because this is important, because then it is the reason that we talk about quarantine and isolation. That quickly, if we test you, we need to move you into the isolation unit so that you don't stop growing these branches. And for those who test positive, of course, we also move you to the isolation site. The others who have not been tested, of course, are kept in quarantine, therefore trying to stop the transmission. And that is basically what leads to a flattening of the curve. Finally, I wanted to share with you the donation that we received from one of our many partners who have supported the ministry. One is the Jack Ma Foundation. I have a table here with me regarding the quantities of whatever was donated, what has been distributed, and what is still in stock in our KEMSA stores. Like, for example, The test kits were a total of 208. If you multiply that by 80, you get about 17,000 test kits. Remember, if you test you and you test positive, at a minimum, you will require 3 tests at a minimum. The first test, the index test, that determines whether you are positive or negative. If you are positive, then you require another second test after 14 days. If that test is negative, you require another test after 24 to 48 hours. So if you divide this number of kits by 3 on average, then you find that we had about 5,000 to 6,000 test kits. And therefore, anytime we report that we have a given number of test kits, remember each individual at a minimum will require 3 tests. So always divide it by a minimum of 3. Of course, we also received viral transport media, 18,900 pieces, all which have gone to various laboratories, various face masks which have all been distributed, medical disposable protective clothing, 1,100 pieces distributed. I can be able to share this with you. So in a nutshell, based on what I've been able to share with you, is that we are not out of the woods yet. We expect a surge in our numbers as we continue with the targeted testing. And therefore, it means we require more quarantine facility, and that is why Madam CAS has clearly articulated that we need to look at our quarantine policy, because the numbers soon will be huge, and possibly look at even home-based care. Thank you.
Yeah, just yes, questions.